Where was Xander going when he left the complex? And how will Kira get Eleanor to work on the Alzheimer's cure for Lucy and Jules? Welcome back. This is Sean's Take on Things. I am your host, Sean Redmond. Today, my take is on Orphan Black Echoes, episode 7. Episode 8. So when we left off, before I begin, this is your spoiler warning. From here on out, I'll have assumed you've seen the episode or don't care if I spoil it. I'll also use clips from the show, as is allowed, under the fair use provision of the copyright laws of 1976. Now, here we go. When we left the last episode, we saw that Emily brought a gun with her to the diner to meet Kira. So we wondered what Emily's allegiances really were, and we find out that she is not working with Kira, but led her to believe she was working with Kira. She tries to force Kira to call Lucy, tells the story about her brother needing Darros to use the people printer to print her brother healthy. At least that's the gist I got from it. At first I thought he might just need a piece, a new this or that, but it sounded like it was more than that, and she needed a scan done and then him printed healthy. They go out to the car. There's a tussle. The gun goes off, and we cut away. We'll come back to that, just like they did in the episode. We cut to the three printouts, Eleanor, Jules, and Lucy, all in the pickup truck, on the bench seat of the pickup truck. And Lucy's trying to manage the situation, handing out what I believe to be burner phones, but they seem to be in a trash bag. And Jules says, just stop telling us to call our wives and just sing with me. And the three of them begin singing along to Search and Destroy. The version used is the Peaches, the Georgia Peaches. And it's cute that all three of them know that song. So it must be an original Eleanor memory. It's an old enough song that it would have to be. I'm not going to get into the history of the song, maybe on another channel. So I do, and I ran into this on a Facebook group. Somebody wants the printouts to have a dance party like they did at the finale of Orphan Black, when all the clones danced together. And I see this scene, this singing along in the car together as that moment for these printouts. They are together. They are. I thought it was a nice nod to it. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I thought it was a good one. So Jules does tell Eleanor and Lucy that the printer is still there and that she saw it, and that Darros has printed himself at 18 and at Xander. We cut to Lucas telling his girlfriend about the issues with his mother. Now, she is the Quaker that brought him into the Quaker religious sect, and she is way more understanding than he is. Very quickly, that anything alive is blessed by God, and blah. I believe what we're doing is giving Lucas a path back, so that either by the end of this season or hopefully next season, he'll forgive and move on. Now, I say next season knowing that there has been no word whether or not there'll be a second season. And given how long it's been since this first season originally dropped, don't forget it dropped almost everywhere else on the planet before it dropped here in the US. This is a 2023 series for the rest of the world. We're just getting it now. But anyway, Jules, sorry I went up on which printout I was talking about. Jules shows Lucy and Eleanor the iWatch that she stole from Darros's office, and they wonder what it's for. And Eleanor says, looks beyond me, but I was always in the biology part. I'm not the tech part. And that triggers the thought in Lucy's mind. And Jules kind of busts her and says, did you just stare off into the distance for a moment? And Lucy lets them know that her ex can probably help them. And we get the moment when Jules says, does Jack know about this ex? And Eleanor says, who's Jack? And she says, well, that's her boyfriend. And Eleanor very quizzically says, boyfriend. And they share that moment twice. Lucy says, we're not all going because we're too hard to take. all together. I'll go alone. She's going to deal with it. And Eleanor says again, boyfriend. Jules says, I know, really. So just playing on the fact that, the original and all of the printouts have lesbian tendencies, but one of them has gone straight, at least so far. We cut to Kira driving her car. She's clearly not dead and not acting as if she's wounded. And she calls Lucas and says that they need to get out of town. And as she's telling him this, she gets a text from Felix reminding her of his art opening and why isn't she there. So Lucy goes and gets Craig and they go see PJ, the ex, Lucy's ex. Craig says, you don't even know where she is. They have this conversation and she says, no, I do. And it turns out, as strange as this is, or at least it's strange to me, there's a thrift store that these alcoholics and junkies go to when they get thrown out of the bars. And sure enough, PJ is there in a tent in the store, getting wasted. I can't even explain it. I got nothing. There is the moment PJ starts to take Lucy to task for breaking up with her, and we hear a little bit of their life and how much it meant to PJ and how little it obviously meant to Lucy. And Craig sort of is Craig and brings her back and says, she could have been blah, blah, blah. They get her and they ask the question, what is it? And she says, well, it's some sort of security. And she knows it's some sort of security token. She's obviously a computer expert, possibly hacker. She does explain a little bit that she would hack into people going through divorces, finances to expose all of their money. At least I think that's what she was saying. So she takes the thing, she networks together all of the computers in the thrift store. So they're all antique, POSs, and I don't mean point of sale, and tries to analyze the token to see what it does. And the token fights back. And then a lot of terrible things happen within the thrift store because she did this. Now they're going to, Darros is going to know where the token was accessed from, and they have to go. She tries to burn the thing to shut it off. It doesn't burn. It's made out of something else. So that was pretty much it. Lucy does promise that if everybody lives through the next couple of days, that she'll buy some coffee and she and PJ can sit down and talk things over, which is a nice gesture. We do see Eleanor and Jules bonding a little bit. Eleanor does fill Jules in on the bathroom memory nightmare that Jules has had, like she did with Lucy, about it being their dad's suicide. Jules feels better that she didn't hurt anybody. And Eleanor does tell Jules about the Alzheimer's, which Jules doesn't react too good to, finding out that you're going to lose your mind. And they have a little bit of an argument because Eleanor doesn't want to work on fixing the problem. She wants to enjoy her last couple of years before she loses her mind. And so Jules, pretty smart, takes Eleanor to see Eleanor's mother, who is also suffering from Alzheimer's. Let's just continue with that for now, and then we'll go back and pick up Felix's art show. So we get to Mom, and Mom has a dish of ice cream set in front of her, and she argues with the guy that she thinks is the waiter that she ordered soup. She doesn't like sweets. And he explains that he's an aide where she works, where she lives, and that she ordered ice cream. And that conversation goes a little bit like that. Eleanor comes up and sits down. She says, you're not Eleanor, because she's remembering Eleanor young. This Eleanor is old. But then in the very next moment does refer to her as Eleanor. The conversation goes on, and Eleanor is trying to get her to tell her what it's like. And the actress that plays the mother had a really good moment where she went from being very, Alzheimer's induced confused as to what's going on. And you saw the clarity come over her. And then she looked at Eleanor and really looked at her and said, ask me what you came here to ask me. And conveyed a lot in that sentence, in that, I'm only going to be here for a minute. Better hurry. And Eleanor asks her, what it's like. And Mom explains, you do forget all the things you wanted to forget, but you also forget all the things you wanted to remember. And the worst part is laying awake in terror at night because you don't know who you are. And that bit struck Eleanor. Mom slips back into her confusion. They part, but Eleanor is changed. She texts Kira. Eleanor texts Kira to meet at Kira's office. Kira is, of course, very happy to hear from her. Hey, listen, if you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. It tells the YouTube algorithm to continue pushing the video out there for me. And if you've liked several of these, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the new ones and the new series that are going to be coming up, and revisiting some fun series from before. Also, leave us a comment. Comments are a great way to keep the community together. Let's talk about this show, uncover some of the other bits and pieces. I love hearing from you, and I appreciate it. But let's get back to this one. So, all right, let's go back. Kira goes to Felix's art show installation, which we don't have a lot of information on. And it looks like we're inside catacombs or something. And he's explaining some artistic idea to a customer. And Kira shows up and the customer goes away. And Felix says, "You just cost me a sale and you look like a lunchroom lady." It turns out that Lucas is also there and confronts Kira about printing out a copy of his other mother. And of course, Felix doesn't know any of this, is trying to come up to speed, and realizes that Kira has made copies of Eleanor, which he reacts to as we would expect Felix from Orphan Black, and knowing all of the clones and all of the trouble. Where are we? Oh, so in the conversation that follows, Lucas leaves. In the conversation that follows between Kira and Felix, Felix finally, puts his foot down and says, "You're going to have to hike up your big girl panties and take responsibility for what you've done," which is very clear and very Felix. So we do cut to Darros's office at one point, and we see him talking to the girl that used to bodyguard Jules. I forget her first name. And Tom walks in, says, "I'm sorry I'm late." And Darros says, "You're not late, Tom. I didn't invite you." And he lets Tom know that she's taking over as the lead, and Tom should take some time off. He lost his ear. It's time to rest. Tom argues a little, and then Darros tells him, "Oh no, take some time off. I am personally going to handle Dr. Manning." Sometimes in this show, it's hard to remember that she's a Manning. Sarah Manning is her mother, and I guess at least some of the clones adopted the name Manning. I don't know. So then we go to Kira's office, and Kira and Eleanor have a conversation about Eleanor continuing her work. But we're not getting back together. It's just about the work. And Kira does tell Eleanor how she helped fake Emily's death so that she could get away from Darros. They printed her jawbone so the DNA would be hers, and burned the car so Emily could get away. I don't know if we're going to see Emily anymore. I'm not a big fan of that bit of a storyline, but it is what it is. And we're in episode 8, and there's only 10 episodes. We did see Jack and Charlie pick up the passports, and for your passport, you actually have to have a high-resolution facial scan done for the passport, not just a picture like we have today. Sorry. And Lucy didn't make it to get her scan, so she doesn't have a passport to leave. Lucy and Craig have an interesting conversation in the truck when Lucy's trying to get to the place to get her face scan so that she can stay with Jack and Charlie, and she gets the call that Jules is in trouble, and she can go that way to help be with Jack and Charlie, or she can go that way and help Jules, and she doesn't know what to do. And Craig says, one time I dated 2 girls with the same name at the same time, and I couldn't decide between the 2 which one I wanted to be with, and I lost them both, And he did say, "You're going to have to make a choice, there or there." And Lucy turns the truck around and goes after to help Jules. They get to the Craig's shelter, and Jules is there, and so is Xander. Xander's after the drug that let him see the vision of his sister, of Darros' sister, and he wants just more so he can see what else. The argument escalates a bit. He draws a gun, We don't know where he got the gun, but he draws a gun. Lucy draws a gun. Xander fires his gun, and Craig is hit. Xander takes the drug thing and leaves, and Craig is shot and lying on the floor. So, fairly intense series of events in this episode. We are definitely hurtling towards the end of this season, and I definitely think the show has earned a second season. It's not as good as Orphan Black, but very few things are. Orphan Black was, a very special thing that just sort of happened correctly. So this one, we have Craig laying on the floor bleeding. We're going to have to get him help. I don't know if Jack and Charlie getting the passports means that they're going to go ahead and leave, and therefore be out of the way for the last 2 episodes, because that's a vulnerability. They could be taken hostage by the bad guys. And we don't know if Tom's going to actually take the order from Darros to actually stand down. We're not sure how many people are going to be in play for the last act of this series. But I am happy that the 3 clones, the 3 printouts are getting along, and their banter is cute and helping move the story forward and all of that. And it got me to thinking, if I, as old as I am now, ran into a version of me from my 30s and one of me from my teenage years, I don't know that the 3 of us would get along like these 3 are. I really don't. What do you think? Would you get along with you when you were younger? It's an interesting question. Let me know in the comments what you think. So that's it for episode 8. I'll get episode 9 out as quick as I can. Let me know what you're thinking of the show. Let me know what you're thinking of this show. Let me know what you're going to watch next. There's a lot of fun things coming up. I haven't decided whether or not to do something fun like Only Murders in the Building. I'm not sure how to write those scripts and how to cover fun things like that, where these things with sort of deeper content like Foundation and Silo and Orphan Black, has sort of deep underpinnings, and there's a lot to sort of unpack and talk about. But let me know what you're thinking. We'll get to it. I really do appreciate you being here. I'm Sean. This is Sean's Take. See you next time.